Alrighty, guys. It is 3:30 this Tuesday, August 19th, and oh boy. Started off this morning thinking it's going to be a range bound, kind of a trading day. Looking at the kind of a doldrums kind of a scenario which we've been watching for the last few days. Not much volume going into the trading day. We were talking about this support area, the 50-55 support area, and if it took it out, the theory was that they could run it all the way down to that 6410 level, and they're pretty much there. They're not a little bit left to 6410, but it's pretty freaking close, right? So I didn't expect to be a risk-off day today, that's for sure. And but what we said this morning is, if you see that early on selling kicking in right from the get-go, and the takeout support, stay on the short side and see how far they can take it. So that turned out to be a pretty good call. Much harder to get on that freaking thing though than it looks, but it's definitely a decent call. We were talking about getting short against let me see here, getting short against resistance earlier on. So we're looking for the early morning analysis was to buy against support in the 50-55s, and if that comes out, maybe stay on the short side if this takes it out with a bit of volume. We were looking for to sell early strength. At this point, it was at against the 670s, 75s, up to that 85 level. We got all the way up to that 75. That's how high we got. So that early strength was worth trying to get short against. If you didn't get try to get too cute about it and you waited for them to take out that low, then you had shots to get short against that. It's just a little bit late in the game, but you still had shots to get short against it. But I mean, you could see here that today has been one steady risk off kind of a day. And after they took out that 50-55 level, here you have that the retest of that. So pretty good action going on there. They took it out. And here was the key support area, or key decision point, right? As they took out this support area, the first probe was just a probe, then they took it out with a little bit of volume, and you can see how the volume increases here, the net selling increases. That just tells you that, okay, this is probably going to be going a bit lower. After that first, the real rundown here, that's when you have a pretty clear confirmation. I tried to get short against this. Now, I tend to get short against this move to the downside, not as easy as it sounds, right? Because this little retracement started grinding back up. We talked about that as a potential short setup uh, against the 50-55s. But the hard part is to figure out when to get short. So if you try to get too aggressive, you may get caught in the run up to the mean. If you're not aggressive enough, you may just miss out on it. But after that, it's just been a steady grind to the downside, just grinding it all the way down here to support, and then pretty much after that, there was a little retracement into that 2 o'clock hour. Here we have a 2 o'clock hour, a little bit of a back and forth, and then just kind of grinding back down again. So I'm thinking still, I'm staying on the short side. I'm not seeing necessarily big bargain hunt kicking in on this one. It could happen, but I'm thinking that they're just going to keep the pressure on all the way down here to the end of the day. So risk off days are like that, you know. Sometimes you get a big violence bargain hunt at the end, but we've been going higher on light volume for a bit now, and this is just a big one big profit taking kind of a day. And you can tell early on, you see all the freaking big techs are getting hammered. They're just getting their head handed to them, and it's just big moves to the downside. So risk off kind of a day, and I would just stay on the short side on this going into the overnight, and see if you can retest these lows and maybe take it lower. As I said, I'm looking for a move down here to that 64.10. So I'm still looking for a little bit lower prices, another 10 points to the downside. We'll see if that materializes or not. But there you have it. So starting off on the short side, going into tomorrow's trading. Looking at the news for tomorrow. Tomorrow we have mortgage apps at 7. Oil report at 10:30. Well, we have Atlanta Fed business inflation expectations at 10. Oil report at 10:30. 20-year auction. Fed minutes coming out at 2. So not a whole lot of news to drive the market either. I haven't taken any trades on an ES. It's been too slow, too grindy for myself. I took a few trades on the NASDAQ. I did want to take one more trade since we spoke last. Let me show you that. And the reason I'm trading NASDAQ a day like this is it moves a little bit faster. You get a little bit faster great gratification if you wish. But you can see here, so I was in a couple of trades here earlier on. I was they took a short trade, got shaken out of that one, or actually I scratched that one when it had to fade some heat. Took a short trade there, faded some heat on that one, had a some profit going, got shaken out of that guy. I tried a long trade against support. I thought I was against that retest. Looked to me like it was holding for a bit, but it didn't go anywhere. It stopped me out. Tried another short trade after that, and made my money back and then some. And I tried one more short trade here at the 2 o'clock hour after the little grind to the upside, failure to take it out. I was late to that one, but you can see the momentum is just crushing it. So I got short a little bit late on that thing. Ran, had a good break even kind of a trade, and then just got shaken out of that thing too. So I'm up 22 right now on 5 trades. Not a great showing, but one of these days, trading in an area like this, when it swings like that, it's just very difficult. I mean, unless you have a really good trade location, just getting shaken out of that trade is pretty likely. And Nasdaq is even worse. Look at Nasdaq's risk-off dynamics. So that's a big tech for you, actually getting the heads handed to them. So they are up here again. We're down here. All retrace this whole area. Took out the key area. Had 730s, and that's been going lower ever since. The tractor here is going to be almost down to that 370 to 38 to 400. So pretty darn close on the Nasdaq. And if they keep going, I mean, we can retrace it all the way back down here to these support areas down here at the 23,000s. So we'll see. At this point, it's just a risk off kind of a day. I would say we'll see what happens tomorrow in terms of a continuation on that. It could turn into a little bit more of a sell-off, who knows? But at this point, pretty big freaking risk off. And you can spot it. If you look at some of these big tech stocks and just a quote board, you can see everything is freaking to the downside. And you can tell when they start taking out some support that there's absolutely no lift at all in this, and they just keep grinding this to the downside. So just stay on the short side then. Try to get short. I mean, you had your indication on the Nasdaq. On the Nasdaq, when they start taking out, let me see what area we talked about this morning. It was 720s, I think. So it was up here at the 720s when they started taking that out, which happened pretty early on the Nasdaq. So Nasdaq was a lot more aggressive. When that already happened, then you knew something was up, and you would after that you tried to get short. I had a couple of opportunities, but I was just talking myself out of a few of them. And a little bit late in the session, when they were really down in the gutter, I tried a couple of these. But as you can tell, I mean, this is not a lot of movements, right? But it's big enough to shake me out of a 50 tick stop, or sorry, a 100 tick stop. So that is. Pretty good. I go to break even at 50, so it's really the shakeouts happens after you go 50 ticks in your favor, and then they reverse all those 50 ticks and knocks you out. So pretty gnarly. It's pretty gnarly. Not much you can do about it. It's better to get just flat out shaken out of a trade than to get stuck in a reversal, which shakes you out on the stop side. It's always that trade-off. So. And on the bonds, just range bound, not going anywhere. It's absolutely sloppy. I haven't tried to trade the bonds. Finally, oil and gold. Gold, we talked about. Well, let's start with oil. It's not going anywhere. Just range bound trading on that guy. They are at an attraction point. So range bound trading on oil. Gold took out support here at the 68, 70s, but it has just been grinding to the downside. Hasn't been a lot of movement. So the big move happened in A period when it ran it all the way down here in a couple of bars and then completely drifted back up again and then slowly started grinding it lower. I haven't tried to trade that. It's too volatile, too sloppy back and forth. So, but I'm starting on the short side on gold, looking for a run down here to the 33.40s at this point. So I look to sell strength on gold for rotations down, trade oil as a flat out range bound market. Now back to the ES, and right now the quick key question for tomorrow is going to be in the overnight. I think are we going to see continuation to the downside, or what? So that's we're starting off on the short side. Watch the retracements. If they start retracing back up again, and on the ES they kind of had to get back up above this area, the 64.50s, for us to get comfortable switching back to the long side. So I would look for reverse retest here. I'm going to adjust these levels a little bit going into tomorrow, but looking for short to sell. Look for short setups against strength all the way up to that 55 level. That's what I would do on the ES. And if they head lower, I would be if they run down to the 6400s, I would be looking for range bound trading there, just kind of stalling there for a bit. They may overshoot it a level or so, but It's I would look to buy here at the tens and the 6400s for rotations back up here to that attractor area. So that's kind of where we have it. So very surprising day. Nothing to drive the market. It just turned into a risk off day, and we spotted that pretty early. And the hardest part has been to try to get short on it because you can see on the ES after that London close as it's drifting lower, and if you sell the low, you had to go back and forth and fade some meat and sit in that trade for a while. If you try to sell on the rotation up. You had a couple of shots here, but you never know how far they're going to take it. And you get into a spot there where they do this, you start selling into this, and they drive it all the way up, and now you're in a pretty big trade. And you never know how far they can take it. So that's always the trade-off. It's always the difficulty. But I bet the best you can do is to try on a move down like that. That's why I have these little S's here, actually the trending indicators. Just try to get short with the spot so you can get at least you stop on the correct side on that prior rotation. That would be a good way of enter. And if they take out that rotation, then just get out of that trade. That's the best you can do. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't. But if it at least that's the best shot of entering it. Entering on the way down is as it starts trading lower is always a shitty trade, and it's the easiest trade because you see it happening in front of you. The problem is everyone else sees that too. So as it starts heading lower, everyone piles on, and then you have the guys which started the initial drive reverse it right back up against you and start squeezing you. So and that's usually what happens. That's why it's like shit, it stopped when I'm now in the backwards in this. So I always try to get in with good trade location, and it's much easier said than done, that's for sure. All right, guys. So far, yes, these 5 trades on the Nasdaq up $22 on that, and that's about it. So we'll leave it there, and I'll see you guys back bright and early in the morning. You guys have a good evening. Later.